Good evening and welcome to NAIT 101. We all know that every person that owns a cow wants to ensure that they are happy and healthy. So thank you for joining the webinar to learn how to keep your cows safe from diseases. My name is Alicia and I am the lifestyle specialist here at Federated Farmers. I will be your host today as we discuss NAIT from an OSPRI and Federated Farmers perspective. Federated Farmers has opened this up to the public for a sneak peek into the education we provide with the lifestyle membership. The next one we will be holding for members will be based around preparing for winter. Our aim is for this session to act as a NAIT 101 with training from start to finish to cover off the most common mistakes, and we will answer your questions at the end of the webinar. Jessie and myself are both happy to talk offline should you need any additional help. And this webinar will be recorded and will be accessible on the Lifestyle Federated Farmers website in about a week or so. We are live, so we appreciate your patience should we encounter any technical difficulties. Today, I would like to introduce our guest speakers. So we've got William Beetham, who is the Meat and Wool Industry Group Chairperson. William is a national board member and his policy responsibilities are animal welfare with the sheep and beef, forestry, postal services, and he also covers skills and training. So it's William. And then we've got Jessie. Jessie Waite is a regional partner at OSPRI in the Taranaki. Her job includes supporting and educating farmers and lifestylers like yourself on their NAIT obligations. Jessie has been with OSPRI for just over a year and was in fact with Taranaki Federated Farmers before the move. As well as working for OSPRI, Jessie sits on the New Zealand Young Farmers Board, is chair of the Dairy Trust Taranaki and is a dairy committee member for the Taranaki Federated Farmers. Perfect. I will hand this off to Jessie. Thanks.
Thank you for that introduction, and huge thank you to inviting us along to do this webinar. Please do ask questions throughout this presentation. We'll come to it a bit later. So this NAIT webinar that I've put together for you guys is tailored hopefully for lifestylers. So please, like I say, do ask some questions if you have them. No question is a silly question, so please fire away as we go through this. And thank you for jumping on tonight too. I think it's great that we are able to have these webinars, obviously a funny environment, but for you guys to be on here and learning new things about owning stock is really important. So thank you very much for jumping on. So just a quick introduction of who we are at OSPRI. So yeah, the umbrella company is called OSPRI and we run two programs. So the first one is NAIT, which we will talk about tonight, and the other one is TB Free. So that program is to eradicate TB within New Zealand. And then NAIT helps that with traceability. So we'll just talk about NAIT tonight, but if you do have any questions when it comes to TB, just let me know. So NAIT stands for National Animal Identification and Tracing Scheme. It is a bit of a mouthful, but essentially it is tracing cattle and deer from birth to slaughter. So it's really important that we have that lifetime traceability of animals so we know where they've been at any given time if we're doing any kind of disease management. So the easiest way that I describe NAIT to those that don't know what it is, especially in our current environment, is that essentially it's like COVID tracing, but for cattle and deer. So it means scanning the tags like you would scan into a restaurant or a cafe so that we can see where these animals have been. Now, why do we need traceability? And I think the key thing here for you on the call is making sure that you've got happy, healthy cows. It supports that disease management. It creates a biosecurity tool so that you don't have diseases coming on farm, and you're able to see that they basically where they've come from and where they've been isn't from a high risk area, and then we can help if there's any disease outbreak in that region or on farm. This is a little bit of context. This is a little bit dated, so bear with. This was in 2020, but it still shows just how many movements of animals there are in 1 week. And those that know what moving day is, this wasn't during that period. So this was a week in August, and we had over 240,000 movements. So there are a lot of movements that go throughout the country in 1 week, let alone a day or a year. So just be mindful that because these animals are moving around a lot, it is really important to know what location they've been at, where they've come from, and that you're keeping your on-farm information up to date if you were to on-sell. So some of you may be aware that when you own animals and you have a NAIT account, you will be a PICA. And there's 5 key responsibilities to being a PICA farmer. That's registering with NAIT initially, then you're registering your location, making sure animals are tagged and registered, recording and confirming all movements, and making sure that your NAIT account's up to date. So we're going to go through all 5 of these. So when you register with NAIT and you become a PICA, what that means is that you're the person who's dealing with those animals day-to-day basis, basically. You know where those animals are, and you know where they've come from, and you know the traceability of that animal. So when you ring up NAIT, or you might ring up myself, or do it online, then you'll put in all your details and your location, and then you'll come up with a NAIT account. So then what happens is when, oh, sorry, no, I jumped forward a little bit. So if you aren't as comfortable or confident with a computer, and you would like some help from a family member or friend to do some NAIT work for you, you can put delegates onto your NAIT account. So that, like I say, it could be a family member or it could be a friend, and they could do that on your behalf, but they need to be registered onto your NAIT account. So the same process, they can ring us or do it online, create an account, and then we can add them to as a delegate onto your NAIT number. Just be wary that yes, you can ask them to do things on your behalf, but under the NAIT Act, the PICA would be the one that's legally responsible for anything within that NAIT account. So if animals aren't tagged and registered correctly, it will unfortunately come back to you, not the delegate that might have done that. So just be wary of that one. Right, register location. So when you're registering a location, you will receive a NAIT number, and that will be your NAIT number that you use to create movements and you register your animals to. One thing that I think gets a little bit confusing for some people who own cattle and deer is that they think it might be a bit of an ownership tool. It's completely just about location. So we're not too worried whether Jane or Bob owns these animals, but we need to know what location they're at and have been, and where they've been moved to. So it's purely around that location. A NAIT number, it stays with the location, so you can't take it with you. And we'll cover that off a little bit later in the presentation. Tagging and registering animals. This is quite possibly the most important part of this presentation. So when you're tagging animals, if you were to have calves on farm that were born on farm, those animals would need to be tagged 180 days within birth, or their first movement, whichever one comes first. So it's really important that if you have animals born on farm, to make sure they're tagged within those days. All this information too can be found on our website, so don't stress. And like Alicia said, this will be up on the Fed Farmers website. There are exemptions around this, so that's bobby calves, fallow deer, trophy stags, and unsafe to tag animals as well. And we'll cover unsafe to tag animals a little bit later. I just wanted to give you guys a little idea on what the tags look like. So we've got the birth tag, so that's the newborn animal tags. that will go into the animal's ear within that 180 days or first movement. And then if for whatever reason an animal was to lose its birth tag, you would use a replacement tag and carry over that information on that animal to make sure that its lifetime's traceability is there. One common question we get is, where would you buy tags from? Now, this is at your farm supply stores, most vets, and the likes of CRV and LIC if you use them as a provider. Now, if you do have an animal that's lost its tag, so it's been tagged, it might have fallen out with itching itself on a gate or a hedge, or however it's fallen out or be lost, you can re-tag that animal if possible to do so. So if you can re-tag the animal with the replacement tag, which we just covered off in that previous slide, and you know the original tag number, so then you could record a tag replacement. Please feel free to get in touch with me if you'd like a run through on how to do that within NAIT. But that means that all of the information about that animal will be transferred from the original tag into the new tag, and it's just a quick replacement. If you don't know the original tag number, that is still okay, and we can re-register the animal. So it would be like a brand new animal with a tag attached to it within your NAIT account. So you'll have a couple extra NAIT tags, within your account, but that's okay because we can fix that up once we work out which one it was originally for. If you can't re-tag the animal, if it's unsafe to do so, then the animal can only move to the meat processor. What deems unsafe to tag is we'll cover off later, but this is just a good diagram to show what would happen if an animal lost its tag and what process you can go down. If you are tagging animals' ears, there is quite a specific place to put it. If we put it around the edge of the ears, like you see in the pictures here, they can easily be pulled out or fall out. So the best place to put it is in the middle of the ear between the two veins, so it's nice and deep in the ear and can't easily be ripped out. Now, registering your animals. Oh, sorry, pushed too many buttons. When you register your animals, this needs to be done within 7 days of tagging, or again, before first movement. So when you get your tags, they will be within your NAIT account, but you need to register them. So you may have tagged the animal, but that doesn't mean the tag is live. And this can be where people get a little bit confused. So once you've tagged the animal, make sure you go into your NAIT account, you select the tag number that you've tagged the animal with, and you simply register it. There will be a few different details to input in there, like the date of birth, was it born on farm, or where was it born? And just make sure that information is as accurate as possible. If you do need to remove a tag, it might be for an animal health reason, or you might have put it in the wrong ear in terms of your property's systems. You do need to contact OSPRI before doing so. And then the tag replacement, like we've just covered, needs to be recorded in NAIT. So just simply call our 0800 number and discuss with them why you need to remove the tags, and they'll be able to give you permission to do so. Just a quick reminder with acute calf, anytime you do put a NAIT tag in an animal's ear, you must register it. And just a quick recap, so to tag an animal must be done within 180 days of birth or before first movement, and then registering within 7 days or before first movement. Recording and confirming movements. So it's really important that you do record every movement on and off your property. So this needs to be done within 48 hours. So these are called two-legged movements. You've got your receiving movement and you've got your sending movement. If you were to receive animals on farm and you haven't had the movement from the sender, please feel free to absolutely just do that right away. Once you've got the animals on farm, get those NAIT tag numbers and do the movement yourself. You do not have to wait for the other person. As long as you've created that movement within 48 hours, you are absolutely compliant on your side. There is an exemption in terms of their two-legged movement, and that's sending to sale yard or meat processor, as they will create that movement and then you'll just need to confirm it. I put this slide in here just to prompt and help you ask some questions if you were to purchase some animals. And this is, have the animals been tagged and registered? And I know this might sound like a silly question, but unfortunately people do receive animals that might be untagged, or they're tagged but they're not registered. And unfortunately, once they turn up to your property and they're in your NAIT account, you become legally liable there. So just make sure that you're asking that question. It might be of the stock agent and it might be of the farmer, but I think that's a really important question to ask. Also, were the animals scanned off farm? So we've got a whole range of different scanners from different companies that scan the tags and they create a scan file. If they were scanned off farm, feel free to ask for that, because then you know what animals you are getting and that they're definitely the right NAIT numbers that you've received in the movement. And another question you could ask is, do the animals, or does the animals have lifetime traceability? So has it been correctly recorded throughout their lifetime of the tags they've had and the movements that have been made? Cool, so unsafe to tag. So if you've got a large animal and it loses its tag and you don't have the facilities to re-tag it, or it's just too dangerous to do so, then please don't try and re-tag it. Unsafe to tag is completely up to you what that means. We don't try and put fence around what that might mean. It's completely up to your safety. So if you feel as though it's too unsafe to tag, please don't. But remember that these can only go to the meat processors. The kind of protocol that we discuss with those animals is mark an X on its back with some paint, and then you'll ring the meat processors ahead and tell them that it's coming, and you'll have to declare it on your ASD form 2 in movement. But yeah, please don't tag an animal if you feel like it's too unsafe to do so. And the last PICA responsibility is keeping your NAIT account up to date. So if you've had an on-farm death, so unfortunately maybe one of your cows has died on farm, or you've had home kill, make sure that you go into that account, select that tag of that animal and declare it as dead, and it'll come off your NAIT account. There's also 2 different production types within NAIT. There's beef and dairy. Now, the biggest reason for this in terms of making sure it's up to date is if you are sending animals to the meat processors, as there's different levies that get charged between beef and dairy. So just make sure that they're correct. Missing animals. So if you're not sure what animals you've got on farm, which to be honest, if you've got a lifestyle block, you probably are pretty good at keeping up to date with your animals. So that one might not be as applicable to you, but we can mark animals as missing if you're not 100% sure on its location or where it is. And then when we work it out, we can change it back to being on farm. It just allows us to create those changes without declaring them as dead or moving them to a location they're not at. Also, PICA contact information. If there was a disease outbreak, we need to make sure that we're talking to the right person. So make sure your PICA contact information is up to date, whether that's your phone number or your email address. That one's really important. If you're moving location, so you're going to sell up your home and move somewhere else, as I mentioned earlier, your NAIT number is locked to the location and it can't be moved. So if you are moving, you're taking your stock with you, just simply contact OSPRI to update the details and they'll complete the change for you, and we can move those animals to the new NAIT number as well. So a couple of ways on how OSPRI can help you and your NAIT account in making sure that the animals on farm are all recorded correctly. We do hire out our scanners for free, or one of us can come out on farm and help you with that. So that allows us to scan the animals and make sure what's in your NAIT account is in fact what's on farm. We have a support centre which you can call an 0800 number with any of your questions or ask them to do things on your behalf. They're fantastic. We as regional partners contact them quite a lot too with our questions. They are fantastic. We do hold training days and events, so like this webinar with Federated Farmers, and we also do events out in the field as well. So if you have a local community that you think would benefit from a NAIT workshop, please get in touch with me and I can put you in touch with your local regional partner and we can work out an event like that. NAIT account help. This one's really good if you want to make sure that your NAIT account's up to date and you've got the right animals on farm that are in your NAIT account, and that's when we can bring the scanner out and make sure that's all accurate. We also have an OSPRI YouTube. So this is where there's lots of videos around, like we've got the NAIT PICA responsibilities and around our NAIT locations if you were running 2 different properties, and a lot's around our TB-free program. So feel free to jump on the OSPRI YouTube. There's videos on how to step by step on doing things within NAIT, and it's really helpful. So really recommend checking that out. Some key things to take away. Make sure your animals are tagged and registered. Record all of your movements, whether it's sending or receiving. And if you need any help, please just get in touch with us. Here is our 0800 number for our support centre, as well as our website and an email address for the support centre. But I'm happy for Alicia to send out my details as well, and I can put you in touch with the right person. Cool. Hey, again, thank you very much for coming on this webinar. I think it's a fantastic thing that Federated Farmers has done to help educate lifestylers around owning stock. So yeah, again, thank you very much for coming on tonight.
No, thank you so much for that, Jessie. It was really good. I learned quite a lot in that, so thank you. Hey, I'd like to invite William to jump on board, or I'll jump on the screen. He is going to cover who he is, why he's involved in Fed, and a farming advocate. So over to you, William.
Thank you very much, Alicia, and thank you very much, Jessie, for that information about NAIT, and OSPRI and NAIT do a lot of very important work, which I'll discuss. Hey, listen, it's fantastic to have the opportunity to connect with our lifestyle farmers, and it's great to start having lifestyle and farmers involved in Feds. I think looking at my little list to cover here, first of all, I suppose, who am I? Yeah, my name's William Beetham. I'm really lucky to be a part of a long legacy of a farming family in the Wairarapa, just east of Masterton. Our family first settled in what's called the Wainaruru Valley, where we are. You can see that sort of in my background, I hope. We first settled here in 1856 and have been effectively farming the same land, although probably we grew to about 36,000 hectares when in about the early 1900s, and now I farm 1,200 hectares in the Wainaruru Valley. So our family have had a long, I suppose, steep tradition in the sheep and beef farming sector, and you know, the way I probably look at the world, and one of the reasons why I'm here is this sector's given me fantastic opportunities, and it's provided an amazing lifestyle for my children and my family. You know, in my life I work a lot of hours, but I effectively love every minute of it and love where we live. So I want to be able to do my best to provide opportunities to our future generations to have the same opportunities or better than we have had. So getting involved in, I suppose, Federated Farmers and industry advocacy in other sectors has been pretty natural for me. So coming back to our farm, we, as I said before, we're currently 1,200 hectares. About 6 years ago, my wife and I, we set up our own business called Beetham Pastoral. We went and leased our family farm and another farm, and subsequently we've leased another farm as well too. And that's been our initial model for us to be able to facilitate succession planning and get into farming. Now we're effectively owners of the old family property, and we're leasing one other farm at this point in time. We run sheep and beef, so we have just over 5,000 ewes on our farm, which we mate every year. We have different mating dates to spread our lambing, and we also have 1,600 hoggets or young sheep, which we put to the ram here. We'll finish probably about 13,000 lambs a year out of our business, which we have a really close relationship with our processor Silverfern Farms. And the reason for that is that we're focused on providing, high quality, sustainable product in market. And that's a company that gives us an opportunity to, I suppose, look to add value to our product based on the attributes we're trying to farm to. And the attributes that we're trying to farm to is make sure we've got a sustainable operation. We produce really high quality product. We're strongly focused on animal welfare, strongly focused on the environment, and we believe that we have responsibilities to continue a long legacy of farming, and we want to do it sustainably, and we want to deliver that product to market with those attributes. So that's really, really important to us. I've got a team of 4 other people working on farms. So I've got an operations manager, stock manager, a shepherd, and a fencer tractor driver. We're really lucky. Unfortunately, my fencer tractor driver is about to retire at 65, but he's been with us for just over 10 years. He actually, as soon as he left school, he started out working for my grandfather. Was here at Brownsmith for a couple of years, and then he moved to start managing farms all around the Wairarapa, and then came back to us to retirement. So we think those sorts of stories that we have a connection to are pretty special. I suppose for myself, as I said before, I think naturally I was always going to be involved in farming. I loved growing up where I do, or where I did. But once I left school, I went to, I did 2 years shepherding, and then I went to Lincoln University and studied a diploma in farm management. That was a fantastic experience. Lincoln was a great place, and I learned so much and met a lot of people. And at that time, I actually spent a lot of time with people who became industry leaders, and actually went right through university with one of the current directors of the OSPRI organisation. From there, I actually moved into a commercial career and worked in different sectors around the world, and did quite a bit of time in commercial business management. But I always just wanted to come home and get going on the farm. So that's been a great, I suppose, asset to me, that experience, but it's been great to be home. And that sort of, I suppose, those skills that I learned helped me become involved in on-farm advocacy. And I really have seen our industry be in a space where we've got a lot of challenges. And I think this is really, I suppose you might think of, if you've got a smaller block, you might think our operation's quite big. Anybody driving down the road really doesn't see any difference between the way a small block owner or a lifestyle owner farms their property as to whether if it's a paddock on a much larger operation like ourselves. So I suppose, so for myself, really understanding how we can I suppose, connect with the challenges our industry has, both the responsibilities we have to our New Zealand, to New Zealanders, to ensure we're delivering sustainable product, but also responsibilities we have to international markets to ensure that we're providing a really top quality, safe, and environmentally friendly product. And I think that it's been fantastic now to, I suppose, first of all, understand those dynamics and work with sectors and government and bureaucrats and other officials to figure out how we connect with farmers and get processes and regulations and systems in place to ensure that are workable for farmers, but we can address those concerns and really move our industry forward into a great vision for the future. That is now becoming, as I said before, really important for lifestylers probably to understand that we all have this collective responsibility for our country and for the sustainability. And today we're talking about biosecurity, and I think and OSPRI holds such a vital part in traceability of our stock, and in terms of biosecurity. The devastation that can be caused right across New Zealand if we get our biosecurity systems wrong is just not worth thinking about it. We have had, if you're aware of the current situation with the M. bovis disease, people thought that was horrific. Well, I was actually working in the UK in the early 2000s with the foot and mouth outbreak. What that did to whether it was small block owners right through to the largest farmers in terms of having stock destroyed, and this is not just a few animals, it was every single animal on the farm, pets, everything. They didn't have proper biosecurity systems in place. They didn't adhere to them, what was there, and there was no traceability, and therefore the only option for them was to actually literally destroy every single animal. And so getting our responsibilities and our systems working really, really well, and ensuring that we can, if we have a biosecurity incursion, and let's hope we never get foot and mouth, but if we do, when we do have biosecurity incursions, we can respond quickly and effectively, and we can work with all animal, with all animal farmers, and plants as well, whether small or large. So it's really vital for federated farmers to connect with lifestylers and to begin to build those relationships. What we as an organisation do is that we do our best to understand our members, the challenges they have, and work with government and sectors to communicate those issues and work with them really closely to set systems and policies that is not only workable, will be effective on the ground and deliver. So at the moment, we're talking about biosecurity and the vitally important role that OSPRI plays, but we can just as easily be talking about the environmental issues that we all face and need to understand, and how we ensure that our environmental impacts are managed, through to making sure we're really understanding our animals. And one thing I say about ourselves farming, myself being an animal farmer, is that those animals are dependent on me 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And if I don't have people on the ground or systems in place, those animals are at risk, and that's my responsibility, and I take that very, very seriously. So that goes right through to animal health, to how we look after our animals' health. It's right through to thinking about things like shade and shelter, which we've already done a podcast on, and everything in between. So it's really important for us to connect with all levels of farmers on things like animal welfare as well, which we'll be doing as we move forward in the future. So I think I've pretty much hopefully covered everything that Alicia wants me to cover. And I think there is going to be an opportunity to ask any questions at any stage. But yeah, again, I'd just like to say I'm really grateful that I've had the opportunity to talk, and that we're connecting with our lifestyle farmers. And please, don't make yourselves silent or quiet. Please ask the questions and connect with federated farmers, because we're here to help and to create a better industry for all in New Zealand. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for that, William. Really appreciate that. Must have been, as you said, about the outbreak of mad cow disease over in the UK. That must have been pretty horrific. I can't imagine that happening here and going through that. So, no, thank you very much. So we'll pull Jessie up on the screen as well, and we'll get through some questions that have come through. So thanks for sending them through. The first one here is, I have 2 blocks. One is 60 k's away from the other. Do I only need to have one NAIT location? Jessie, that's for you.
Good question. I mean, William, you can take the floor if you want. But no, good question. So unfortunately, no. If they're 60 kilometres apart, you cannot run them under one NAIT number. They will need to be 2 different NAIT locations. We do run if they're within a 20-kilometre radius, they can be run under one NAIT number. What I do caution with that is if there was to be a biosecurity outbreak on one location, because it is run under one NAIT number, both of those locations would be closed down whilst that investigation was taking part. So yeah, not 60 k's, but within 20 kilometres radius, yes.
Cool. No, that's perfect. Thank you. Do I still need to register my calves if I get them through the sale yards, or did they do both? Because you spoke about the 2 legs.
The movements, yep.
Yeah, the movements.
So,
yeah.
When the animals are sent from the farmer to the sale yards for sale, the farmer will register those tags on that animal, and then it'll go to the sale yard, and then if you buy them from the sale yard, they will create the movement to you, and then you just need to confirm that those are in fact the animals you received. So you should be receiving animals that are tagged and registered, and if not, I would be seriously asking the stock agent or the sale yard or the farmer who you've bought them off. But yes, the sale yard will create that movement for you, and then you just confirm it.
Cool, perfect. One here for you, William. What do you see the biggest challenge for lifestylers coming up?
Well, that's a very good question. Oh, listen, I clearly think that you know, animal welfare and biosecurity is the big challenge for lifestylers. We need to. It's so important for our international markets and just purely for our animals to understand animal welfare and ensure that we're providing things like shade and shelter and water and looked after. You know, as I said before, what is our plan and what is our plan and process to look after our animals 365 days, 24 hours a day? Is there somebody down the road who can help? And then the other part is clearly understanding our biosecurity obligations and understanding, going through processes like we're talking about now, understanding how important it is, because we can all get frustrated with systems that don't work properly, and we know that we've had frustrations with NAIT. We can all get frustrated with trying to understand things, but we're really trying to make sure these are in effective systems in a place for a very, very important reason. So the challenges of connecting with lifestyle farmers and with your communities of lifestyle farmers that you're working with, and talking about, you know, why this is really important and why we must have compliance to NAIT, because nobody wants to see a biosecurity outbreak that causes devastation on small or larger farms.
Yeah, perfect. No, thank you, William. Another one here for you, Jessie. If I decide to graze my neighbour's cows, do I need to record any NAIT movements?
Yes, because there is a movement between two separate locations. When those animals come to your property to graze, movement will need to be created that you've received them, and then the movement will need to be confirmed from the sender.
Cool, perfect. And what are the penalties? I guess everyone wants to know that. What are the penalties if I don't comply with NAIT movements?
That is a good question, and that is one thing I'll just quickly reiterate. I'm not all over the complete infringements, and that is because OSPRI and NAIT sit in the education and support space. So we do not do any warnings or infringements. We're definitely not the police when it comes to NAIT. So our core role is to support and educate farmers. So that's where we can run these webinars and do events and come out and visit you and sit down and go through a NAIT account to make sure the MPI don't turn up with warnings and infringements. Unfortunately for some farmers, they did receive quite large fines last year, and some of them got up to about $20,000. So, you know, that we do take this seriously as a sector, and MPI definitely are looking at those infringements. So definitely get in touch with us if you have questions so that we can avoid that happening.
Cool, perfect. And what is the best advice you can give me if a calf does turn up without a NAIT tag in its ear?
Cool. So if that does happen, you need to tag and register it straight away. You can, when you're doing that, say that it was born at a different location, but it is important, tag and register it straight away so that you're compliant with everything on farm, and that everything on farm is tagged and registered, like I say, with the NAIT account.
Cool, perfect. Another couple here. Jessie, you mentioned that when looking to purchase cattle, we should ask if their animals have full traceability. Is there a report when we can request from NAIT or OSPRI, or we're just relying on verbal communication from the farmer?
So there are specific details you'll need to kind of delve down into that really specific information, and that's the NAIT tag numbers. So at OSPRI and NAIT and us as RPs, we can search that tag for you and see that it has, you know, if it's been re-tagged, we'll see that information there. There might be an area within New Zealand that you don't wish to purchase from. It might be a high-risk area when it comes to TB, and we can tell you what regions it's been in. We can't narrow down, obviously, into specific addresses because we've got the Privacy Act, of course, but there is the information if you have the NAIT tag number that we can gain for you. But that, again, verbally, yes, unfortunately, some of that does come down to it if you do not have the NAIT tag numbers, and you're going to have to try and request that from whoever the sender is to. But very good question, and hopefully those that are sending the animals are more than happy to give you the information in the context of biosecurity on farm.
Cool, perfect. And we've got another one here. The account holder of the NAIT of my property has left, leaving me here with 6 animals. They are all tagged and registered. Can I take over the account? And if so, how do I make this happen? Is that when the PIC?
Yeah, PICA. Yep, perfect.
PICA,
it gets pronounced differently sometimes. Really good question. Yes, you can take over that NAIT account. So we've got a PICA change form that you can fill out. They will have to also do that because they are the current PICA. So we do need their permission to do that. If you have real trouble with getting their permission to change it over to you, what can be done is we create a new NAIT number for yourself under that location, and we can move the animals to your NAIT account. So I would suggest ringing the 0800 number, and they'll be able to send that form to you or talk to your options about creating a new NAIT location.
Oh, no, that's awesome. Thank you. And we've just got one final question here for William. Do you have any parting wisdom for lifestyle block owners to ensure that their block does not become a life sentence?
Yeah, that's a great question. And listen, you know, we can laugh that these things become a life sentence, but a lot of farms have become a life sentence for a lot of farmers. And we know about issues like mental health, and a lot of the reason why we have these challenges has been based around, you know, it can be so demanding when you're responsible for animals and land 24/7. And so what we've worked a lot on, and I suppose the wider farming sector, was getting perspective, making sure that you're talking to other people, and making sure you've got systems in place. So how do you stop your lifestyle block becoming effectively the old ball and chain? Well, the key thing is to have systems and plans in place. And I know that you probably didn't buy your block of land to sit down in the office and create a plan, but it is honestly the most crucial thing that you can do is to create a plan, create an animal welfare plan. How am I going to manage my animals? If I'm not going to be around for any particular reason, who can look after them? If I want to go away on holiday, who can I trust to look after them? And do they have the plan in place to be able to look after it? Where can I go, and who can I seek advice? And this is where, you know, connections with Federated Farmers is fantastic. We create those communities where you can get advice about what you should be doing on your property at certain times a year, what are your responsibilities and what you need to do. So it won't actually take too much time, but get a plan in place. Get those plans in place where if you're not going to be around, what needs to be done, who's going to look after it, and what's it going to make easy to work your way through and ask advice. And that'll make the whole process or the whole time of actually farming and enjoying your block so much more enjoyable, as opposed to getting into situations where life just becomes, or the situation can become very, very challenging. So I hope that that answered that final question.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that, William. Really appreciate you jumping on the call. I know you're a busy man. And also thanks so much, Jessie, for joining us and going over NAIT and OSPRI. Really appreciate you guys jumping on board. Awesome. So thanks for everyone else who's attended the webinar today with OSPRI and Federated Farmers. We really hope you've enjoyed the presentation. And yeah, so at Feds, we have a lifestyle membership, and this membership gives you the tools and access to training to help manage the laws and regulations to ensure you are successful. And as mentioned earlier, it doesn't become a life sentence block. Yeah, so thanks so much, and I hope you guys all have a great evening. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to get in touch. There's an email on the screen, OSPRI's 0800 number, or Federated Farmers. Give us a shout. Thanks so much. See ya. Bye.